100-year war has ended. The road to recovery has begun. But the Avatar is once again missing. So we must once again bide our time and wait for their return. Because I believe the new Avatar can restore balance to the world. Greetings fanboys and fangirls, I'm Erodin of the Blockbuster Buster, and our story begins after the unprecedented success of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Creators Michael Dante DiMarino and Brian Konietzko intended to do a follow-up to Avatar that would see Prince Zuko, now the Fire Lord, go on a secret expedition to find his missing mother. The miniseries would have taken place between 10 to 20 years after the events of the original series, and would have showcased how much the world advanced and evolved after Zuko and Aang ended the 100-year war. But very much like the original series, this new idea kept growing and evolving until the creators decided that it should be its own series, following the new Avatar and a whole new group of characters.
What happened to Zuko's mom?
Well, Denora, it's an incredible tale.
Brendan, you look old. How old are you?
But don't fret, the original concept for the follow-up was reworked and retooled into an amazing graphic novel called The Search, which I cannot recommend enough. Originally, the follow-up was going to be one animated special called Avatar: The Legend of Korra, but the creators convinced the network to expand it into a miniseries called The Last Airbender: The Legend of Korra to justify the budget that they needed to give it quality. But even then, the network was hesitant to invest in the series, as they believed that while girls will watch shows about boys, the boys will not watch shows about girls. But after a very successful test screening where all the boys present confirmed what the rest of the world knows, that children don't give a crap about the gender of their action heroes, Nickelodeon officially committed to the follow-up, but not as a miniseries, but as a 4-season series, simply titled The Legend of Korra.
You gotta deal with it!
The plot. 70 years after the events of the original series, Avatar Aang's son, Tenzin, takes the new Avatar, Korra, under his wing to teach her airbending. And while there might not be a war looming, there are new and mounting dangers in this advanced and modern age. So even though she's not quite ready yet, Korra accepts the call to arms, as she knows that it is now up to her to save the world.
And we're about to put you in the hospital.
You're the only ones who are gonna need a hospital. And for your sake, I hope there's one nearby.
Character design and animation. Since the production of this series started just months after the original wrapped, it had the same designers and animators working on it. However, due to their 3 years of experience working on Avatar, they had perfected their craft. And not only did they match the quality of the original series, but in my opinion, they surpassed it. Cast and characters. I cannot praise Andrea Romano enough for both directing and casting this series, as she managed to put together a cast that was just as high quality as the original series. But before we talk about them, a quick disclaimer. The villains. Unlike Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra did not have any recurring antagonists. Very much like Buffy and Supergirl, each season had its own big bad. So we will talk about them when we talk about the individual seasons. For now, let's focus on Team Avatar. The heroes. Once again, I have to sing the highest of praises to D. Bradley Baker, who voices our heroes' animal companions, Naga and Pavu. It is just mind-blowing that the noises that these creatures make come out of the head of a living human being. Chief Lin Beifong, Earthbender, played by Mindy Sterling. Lin is the daughter of my all-time favorite Avatar character, Toph Beifong. She is the tough-as-nails police chief of Republic City, and a badass metalbender, who not only serves as an unofficial mentor to Korra, but at times as a surrogate mother. And it cannot be denied that this lady is not to be trifled with.
That lady is my hero.
Tenzin, Airbender, played by J.K. Simmons. Tenzin is Aang's youngest son, and the only one of his children to be born an Airbender, which puts enormous pressure on Tenzin's shoulders to rebuild the Air Nation. a pressure that increases when his 3 children are also born airbenders. And then the new avatar emerges, and he is the only one in the world who can teach her airbending. So, suffice it to say, at times Tenzin is wound a little too tight.
No one's fighting! We're going to have a wonderful time!
Asami Sato, non-bender, played by Seychelle Gabrielle. First of all, my freaking god is this character gorgeous. She looks like Michelle Yeoh and Jennifer Connelly had a baby.
We shall meet again soon, beautiful woman.
Anyway, Asami is the daughter of Hiroshi Sato, the inventor of the Sato-mobile and other technological marvels that the modern world enjoys. But in spite of being a wealthy heiress, she is no pampered princess. Asami is a badass martial artist and a brilliant engineer, one whose skills are indispensable to Team Avatar.
You should know how to drive. Besides, it's relaxing. Clutch!
Bolin, Earthbender, played by PJ Byrne. Bolin and his brother Mako are the product of a marriage of a man from the Earth Kingdom and a woman from the Fire Nation. They represent the progress and unity that Aang and Zuko work towards. Bolin was born a naturally exceptional Earthbender, but he's delightfully naive and frightfully optimistic. And while that makes him a wonderful comic relief character, it also makes him an easy mark in the crime-infested Republic City.
I gave all the money to some guys over there. I told them to take care of it, and then I winked.
Mako, Firebender, played by David Faustino. Yes, this character was named after the great Mako Iwamatsu, who was the original voice of Uncle Iroh on Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, while Bolin was born an Earthbender, Mako was born a Firebender. And unlike his brother, Mako is more responsible and level-headed, secretly aspiring to get into law enforcement. But in the meantime, the brothers scrape up a living in the pro-bending circuit, which is the coolest fictional sport ever. Seriously, Quidditch is f***ing lame. Fun fact, while the different types of bending are inspired by real-life martial arts, pro-bending was based on MMA.
Knockout! Woo! The fire ferrets come from way behind and steal the win!
In summary, Mako is the brooding badass you always want at your side during a brawl. Avatar Korra, Waterbender, played by Janet Varney. I think something that a lot of people fail to grasp is that while Korra might be the reincarnation of Aang, she is not him. She is her own individual, with her own experiences. While Aang was a pacifist whose first instinct was to deflect and evade, Korra is a fighter, whose first instinct is to attack a problem head-on, which has varying degrees of success.
What do you mean I'm under arrest? Those are the bad guys over there. They were smashing up a shop.
From the looks of it, you smashed up a lot more than that.
Also, while Aang is very reluctant to accept his role as the Avatar, Korra is more intrepid and ready to jump into the role feet first, even without having access to her airbending.
I have mastered airbending. Punch, punch, punch! See? Mastered.
Book 1, Air. The new avatar, a waterbender named Korra, has been discovered. And while she has mastery over water, earth, and fire, her airbending skills are currently inactive. Korra travels to Republic City to learn airbending from the only one in the world who can teach her, Councilman Tenzin. But while Korra has a lot to learn, there is evil afoot, as a new radical group called the Equalists are making strides to eliminate all benders under the leadership of the mysterious Amon, a terrorist leader with the inexplicable skill of taking away people's bending. While the original series was more serialized and saw the characters pursue one quest, The Legend of Korra was more episodic, and would have individual story arcs each season. Personally, I feel that Season 1 started the series off on the right track, creating the perfect juxtaposition between Korra still mastering her bending as the Equalists are trying to eliminate bending itself. Which leads us to our first big bad, Amon, played by Steve Bloom. While Korra is impulsive and driven by emotion, Amon is cold, collected, and emotionless, the perfect foil for a hero in training, one that represents her greatest fear, which is being powerless.
Although it would be the simplest thing for me to take away your bending right now, I won't. You'd only become a martyr.
Book 2, Spirits. While the Equalist movement has ended, dark spirits have started to roam the world. And to defeat them, Korra must master skills far beyond bending. Ancient abilities that will take her deep into the spirit realm, lead her to discover the origins of the Avatar, and uncover treachery within her own family. While Season 1 was about conquering your fears, Season 2 is more about learning to trust your instincts. As Korra is so desperate to find a solution against the dark spirits that she puts her trust on the wrong person, Unalaq, Waterbender, played by Adrian Luttrell. While Korra is still figuring out who she is and doesn't quite see herself as a spiritual leader yet, Unalaq is devout in his belief that he is the one who's supposed to bridge the spirit world and the human world. The question is, which spiritual leader is correct?
Maybe I shouldn't.
What do you mean?
What if Unalaq was right when he said the Avatar shouldn't be a bridge between the two worlds?
Also, this season introduces my favorite character in the series, Varric, non-bender, played by John Michael Higgins. Varric is an eccentric billionaire inventor who always has an idea, a comeback, or a trick under his sleeve. He's like Howard Hughes, but with John Astin's personality.
Julie, commence Operation Winged Freedom! Do the thing!
Also, Season 2 is when Bolin becomes a mover star and plays Nuktuk, the hero of the South, in a series of propaganda films, and they are the best thing you will ever see.
When Unalaq starts trouble, he'll punch him in the mouth. He's Nuktuk, the hero of the South!
Book 3, Change. As a result of Korra tampering with the spirit realm, she has accidentally awoken latent airbending abilities in almost everyone who has air nomad ancestry, which creates a new air nation, but also inadvertently gives airbending to one of the most dangerous criminals in the world, Zahir, leader of the Red Lotus, a group of powerful benders band together for one sole purpose: to eliminate the Avatar. This is my favorite season of the series. Not only do we see the rewards and drawbacks of reintroducing a long-absent nation into the world, but we meet who I consider to be the best villain in the series, Zahir, Airbender, played by Henry frickin' Rollins. Yes, Henry Rollins, the rock star, and he is really good in this role. While most villains seek selfish ends, Zahir's goal is to grant the people true freedom, which in his mind means getting rid of all leaders, politicians, and monarchs. And of course, that also includes the Avatar.
Do you know who once said, "New growth cannot exist without first the destruction of the old"? The wise guru Lahima, an airbender.
This is one of the many reasons why Zahir is my favorite villain in this series. His motivations are easy to understand, even though his methods leave little to be desired. But I get where he's coming from. Also, like Azula before him, he's smart enough to assemble a team when pursuing the Avatar. The Red Lotus, comprised of Ghazan, played by Peter Giles, a lethal lava bender, Minghua, played by Grey Delisle, a double amputee who uses waterbending to replace her missing limbs with deadly water whips, and Pai Li, played by Christy Wu, a killer combustion bender.
Ironically, I hired a guy with a similar ability to kill the Avatar myself once. Didn't work.
And on top of all that, Zahir is a brilliant strategist who actually studies his enemies, which makes him all the more dangerous when he acquires airbending.
Did he just fly?
And for the first time in the franchise, we get to see what an evil airbender would be like, and it is terrifying.
You think freedom is something that you can give or take on a whim. But to your people, freedom is just as essential as air.
Book 4, Balance. After her traumatic experience with Zahir and the Red Lotus, Avatar Korra has gone into a self-imposed exile and hasn't been seen in Republic City for 3 years. But don't fret, citizens, as Tencent and the new Air Nation are picking up the slack in the Avatar's absence, protecting the people and keeping the peace. Unfortunately, the Earth Kingdom has been left in chaos, and now looks to military leader Gavira for guidance. But the Great Uniter's plans may prove to be too ambitious, as she is striving to restore order by conquering the world, and therefore initiating another 100-year war. Season 4 was a bold and worthy conclusion to the series. Unfortunately, most people didn't see it. Why? Well, for starters, it's important to note that during its first 2 seasons, The Legend of Korra was one of the most watched shows on Nickelodeon. Then right as Season 2 finished airing, a few episodes from Season 3 featuring the Spanish dub leaked online. Nickelodeon remedied the situation by starting to air Season 3 ahead of schedule without advertising it. So of course, the ratings were bad, as no one knew that the show was coming back. And as per usual, TV networks are incapable of seeing the circumstances around a ratings drop, and all they see is the numbers. So Season 3 was pulled from air halfway through, and they just started uploading the episodes online to their very crappy website that at the time was not designed for streaming. Like many people, I didn't know about this, so when I came across new episodes of The Legend of Korra on their website, I just assumed that I had missed them on TV. Also, it took superhuman patience to watch a TV show on their website, as it would take between 40 minutes to an hour to load one 20-minute episode. After Season 3, many people, including myself, thought that that was the end of the show. After all, there was no Avatar wiki back then, and it's not like Nickelodeon was advertising it, so I produced an unscripted video talking about the show, thinking that it had ended. Immediately after I posted that video, I received an email from a fan named Jorge Quiñones informing me that not only was The Legend of Korra not over, but Season 4 was going to premiere in just a matter of days. So yeah, I was pretty lucky, but most people didn't see the end half of Season 3 or the entirety of Season 4 until a few years later when the show became available on Netflix. And then on top of all that, Nickelodeon also cut the budget for the final season of the show. And that is why Season 4 has a clipisode. And boy howdy do folks love to complain about the clipisode. Yes, it's cheap and a bit lame, but the creators had 2 choices. Either produce a clipisode and save money, or fire half of their staff. So yeah, by all means, continue dumping on the clipisode. So yeah, without a doubt, Nickelodeon did this show dirty, which is made all the more shameful when you consider all the critical and financial success garnered by Avatar: The Last Airbender and the first 2 seasons of The Legend of Korra.
That's rough, buddy.
Alright, let's get back to talking about Season 4. Kavira, an earthbender played by the great Zelda Williams, didn't possess any unique powers or abilities like the previous villains. She was just an average soldier who decided to save the Earth Kingdom in Korra's absence. But her efforts de-evolved from order to control, and the power just went to her head, which then escalates to her creating a weapon of mass destruction, powerful enough to challenge the Avatar and her allies. The finale is amazing, especially when you stop to consider all of the setbacks the crew experienced during production. This was an epic end to an epic series.
Oh, rats! She's still coming! Julie, do the thing!
I'm afraid there are no more things to do.
And now it's time to talk about the final frame of the series. Yeah, that one. I have never felt more divided about a single frame of animation than this one. On one hand, I like it because it's a happy ending, and I love Korra, and I want her to have a happy ending. And there is not a happier ending than her ending up with the most beautiful girl on the show. But on the other hand, it annoys me because it completely overshadowed the finale. And after this episode aired, this is all everyone was talking about. Not the narrative about abusing power, or the giant robot, or Mako nearly killing himself to save the others, but this little moment. So, in summary, I disliked it because it distracted from the great story that was told during this season. But on the other hand, I love it because it serves a very important purpose when creating a TV show or a movie, which is to cause an effect. And in the case of this one frame, it caused a very positive effect. As many animation historians cite this little moment as the one that paved the way for shows like Steven Universe, She-Ra Princesses of Power, and The Owl House. And that ain't bad. Alright, let's close this out. Shiro Shinomi, do the thing! Korra and Team Avatar have once again saved the day, destroying the Platinum Colossus and stopping the Earth Empire from starting another 100-year war. Now along with famed entrepreneur Asami Sato, Avatar Korra has taken a trip into the spirit realm for some well-deserved R&R. Until we meet again, Avatar, this is Shiro Shinobi signing off. Final verdict. The most common review for this show is that it's not as good as Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a good review if you're a lazy f***. This show is not as good as one of the greatest animated shows ever made? You don't say. In other news, Gargoyles is not as good as Batman the Animated Series, Disenchantment is not as good as Futurama, Water's Wet, and The Sky is Blue. Now, if we're done stating the obvious, how about we focus on talking about this show? Most young adult shows are about growing up. Korra, on the other hand, was about being a grown-up, making mistakes, and learning how to move forward. Korra starts her journey as someone who believes herself to be invincible, and yet still coming up against greater forces that challenge her. In the end, she matures and evolves and moves past the mindset of being a blunt instrument. She learns that her powers are just a tool and not who she is, and that sometimes the only path to victory is the battle not fought. And if you're not down with that, well, guess what? She's the Avatar and you gotta deal with it. 10 points in the badassitude meter. Get yourself some Verret cakes. Don't forget to bring treats for your polar bear dog and give it a watch. Until next time, I'm Erod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster.